A significant ship find alters everything. The Curse of Oak Island's 8th season centers on the discovery of a significant ship that could change the course of the inquiry completely. The gang discovers a polished piece of wood that resembles a handrail, which prompts them to surmise that it was once a section of a ship's railing that was attached to the surrounding stone road. This finding adds to the body of data that suggests the wetland once served as an open seaport. However, a large object is impeding their efforts and keeping them from going any further. The gang remains unwavering in their resolve to explore the marsh and learn what lies beneath its surface despite this obstacle. Despite the fact that a significant ship finding has completely changed everything. One of the objects that the crew discovers is a polished piece of wood that resembles a railing. They believe it to be a fragment of a ship's railing, and that it is attached to the surrounding stone path. This would provide as another evidence that the marsh formerly served as an open harbor. They encounter a large item, though, which prohibits them from exploring further and learning more. They won't stop looking until they find what's hidden there, since the group is certain that the swamp holds the knowledge they require. During the 8th season of The Curse of Oak Island, a significant shipwreck is discovered and made public. The group finds a significant relic that has the power to change the direction their search will take, which throws everything into confusion. The find raises questions about the ship's history and purpose, while also giving the members new causes for optimism and excitement. The group is more motivated than ever to carry out their inquiry and uncover new clues that could ultimately unveil the secrets of Oak Island, as the mystery grows more baffling. A number of shipping logs were found by the brothers, providing proof that an armada of French soldiers reached Oak Island in 1746. The Duc d'Anville expedition, which was sent from France with the goal of retaking Louisbourg, may have been the source of the artifacts. One of the most thrilling metal detector discoveries on the show happened in the 1st season. Steve Zazulik discovered a copper coin of the Spanish 8 denomination. The object was probably moved there at some point in the 17th century. During the 2nd season of The Curse of Oak Island, metal detecting helped uncover more old coins. Gary Drayton found 2 Britannia coins from King Charles II's reign while walking along the shore. It was hidden beneath a layer of rocks, one of which had the year 1771 carved into its surface, and pyrite. When the crew inspected one of the coins found that season in the episode titled The 90-Foot Stone, they discovered what appeared to be a cross symbol on one side of the coin. The show had the name The 90-Foot Stone. The greatest degree of hope was given to the searchers by this specific treasure that was discovered on Oak Island in 2022 or before. Was it appropriate to utilize it in a financial institution? An episode from the 5th season of the show focused on one of the most significant archaeological finds discovered throughout the course of the series. Drayton and Rick Lagena found a solid lead cross at the seashore after bringing their metal detectors there. It was discovered after analysis that the artifact most likely originated in the 13th century. Additional investigation establishes a link between Oak Island and the Knights Templar in subsequent episodes. Another of Drayton and Rick Lagena's gems was uncovered with a metal detector in the 6th season's opening episode. To search for hidden wealth, they traveled to a region of the island that had not previously been investigated. They moved a big boulder, dragged it up from under it, and found copper in a well-preserved cartwheel 2 pence. Drayton uses his metal detector to focus on a signal, which Rick Lagena uses as a guide to find and unearth a jeweled brooch. Leaded glass was used to make the gem, and gold was utilized to make the other parts of the jewelry. This archaeological gem was uncovered thanks to the use of ground-penetrating radar. It was initially thought to be a crossbow bolt, but an authority on antiquities has speculated that it might have been a javelin. Shocking. On The Curse of Oak Island, a war room revelation is given in this episode. Gary Drayton and Jack Begley meet with the Lagena brothers in the war room to discuss some amazing findings they have made. Their finds, which included an antique coin with a square hole in it and the head of an old axe used for ship maintenance, were divided. Both pieces are believed to have existed as early as the 1700s, not earlier. The discovery of these relics, which could yield significant information, might shed light on the history of the island. The team's will to keep exploring for solutions is evident despite the fact that the movie withholds the facts of the unexpected revelation that occurred in the war room. The various historical connections and bits of evidence that imply something significant occurred on Oak Island as dramatic war room revelation were made serve as fuel for this commitment. To discuss the fresh material that Gary Drayton and Jack Begley have discovered, the brothers Lagena gather in the war room. In addition to the head of an old ship's axe that was used for maintenance, they also uncover an antique coin with a square hole in it. The coin, which is thought to date from the first half of the 18th century, or possibly earlier, could reveal vital details about the island's past. The team is resolute to continue their investigation into the mystery because of the numerous historical connections and pieces of evidence that suggest Oak Island was the scene of an enormously significant event. In this exceptional episode of The Curse of Oak Island, Maddie Blake journeys to Michigan to meet with Rick and Marty Lagena and other members of their treasure hunting team in order to hear the astounding results of the seismic testing that was conducted in the swamp. Why is it important to revisit the island after the 6th-season finale of the television series Oak Island, which aired the week before? The gang reunites for a very special episode of Drilling Down because there have been some amazing new discoveries to share that are so revolutionary that they couldn't wait until next year to be addressed. The Oak Island crew has been reveling in the ecstasy caused by their recent discovery of gold in the Money Pit location, and they have started to plan how and when to bring in the gigantic steel caisson shafts that measure 10 feet in height. With ROC Equipment and Irving Equipment Limited, the team came to an understanding that they would need a total of 4 caissons within 4 to 6 weeks. It would be extremely expensive for the Laginas to just dig up all of Oak Island, which is the first and most obvious reason. Undoubtedly, the Lagena brothers have reaped their fair share of rewards over the years, and they have received support from a variety of sources, but uncovering the remainder of the island would still need an enormous investment in time and finances. On the other hand, the main reason they are unable to simply excavate the entire island is because doing so would have a catastrophic effect on both the environment of the island and the area around it. The local flora and animals would be endangered if the forest on Oak Island were removed in order to find anything. It is estimated that the island's forest area is 140 acres. Environmental catastrophe would result from this kind of destruction, which would also have long-lasting effects on the marine species surrounding the island. It would also be an environmental catastrophe and a PR problem for the Brothers series, which may be their main source of income, given how difficult it would be for them to get approval for a project of this nature and how plain it is that they will never be able to. It is extremely clear that the Lagena brothers do not intend to take such drastic action anytime soon. They seem content to stick with their tried-and-true tactic of tossing darts at a map in the hopes that one of them would land on the treasure they have spent their entire lives searching for. The brothers have spent years scouring the entire island, a weapon used by the Romans more than 2,000 years ago. The team finds a metal object in the 2nd episode of the 9th season that appears to be the object they have been looking for since the beginning of the show. Further inspection reveals that only a small fraction of the object is truly made of gold. Through each season, the show explores the exploits of full-time treasure hunters, and the secrets surrounding Oak Island only grow more complicated. For historical research, their findings made with metal detectors open up previously imagined doors, but you can get the same results with your own gear. Always make careful to get permission before searching for anything on someone else's property or on open space. It is widely acknowledged that the discovery of the island's money pit marked the beginning of the history of treasure hunting on Oak Island. The pit, often known as the money pit, is a human-made hole that is frequently assumed to be the location of the lost treasures. The story goes that in 1795, while on an adventure on the island, a group of boys around the age of 13 discovered a dip in the earth. They began digging since they believed it to be a fake hole, and as they dug, they found multiple layers of wood and other things. However, a mysterious flood stopped them in their tracks, filling the hole with water and blocking any further excavation. As soon as word of the discovery spread, treasure seekers from all over the world flocked to Oak Island to look for the loot. The Onslow Company, a group of financiers, organized the first orderly excavation of the money pit in the year 1803. Despite their best efforts, the gang was unable to reach the bottom of the hole, and as a result, they had to cease digging. Many various groups made attempts to unravel the riddles surrounding the island throughout the course of the ensuing century, but they were all in vain. The most serious of these was the flooding of the pit, which made unsafe and difficult further research in the area. The hole was also equipped with a number of intricate devices that, when activated, would force the pit to overflow with water and prevent access to the treasure. Please subscribe and enable post notifications if you want to learn about more exciting discoveries. Despite these challenges, the excavations continued, and the Oak Island Treasure Company was founded in 1861. This specific team was able to dig down to a depth of 90 feet before the flooding that happened in the pit once more hampered their attempts. The excavations were permanently halted in 1909 as the Oak Island Treasure Company went out of business. Since then, several other parties have made an effort to find the treasure buried on Oak Island, but the riddle of the money pit has remained unsolved to this day. The discovery of the money pit and the initial excavations on the island both had a significant impact on the history of the island and the ongoing search for treasure there. Despite the challenges and barriers that were faced, this is true. The 300 years that have been spent looking for treasure on Oak Island have not lessened interest in the mystery, despite the numerous difficulties and failures that have been encountered. A number of new organizations have stepped up to the plate in recent years with the goal of unlocking the island's mysteries. One of the most significant recent events was the founding in 2010 of the Oak Island Tourism Society, an institution dedicated to the preservation of the island's heritage and the promotion of tourism. The organization has significantly contributed to raising public knowledge of Oak Island and the treasure hunt. The group has also participated in a number of island-wide archaeological digs. Unusual force discovered on an unusual island. To learn more right away, simply click the video below for hints as to the whereabouts of the long-lost fortune, but they have yet to make any real progress in their quest. Fans have been visibly irritated as a result, with some of them thinking that the show has started to place more of an emphasis on maintaining its numbers than on actually looking for the treasure. Due to their annoyance, they have developed a number of original plans to stop the quest as quickly as possible. The idea that the Laginas ought to simply demolish the island entirely has become one of the ideas that has garnered the most traction. There is no denying the appeal of the concept. Implementing the plan would be a significantly more direct and thorough approach than speculating randomly on the location of the hidden riches. Then why is it not possible for the team to just excavate the entire island? Generally speaking, the history of treasure hunting on Oak Island can be traced back to the time the money hole was dug there. The pit, commonly known as the money pit, is supposed to contain the hidden wealth. An artificially made hole is the pit. According to folklore, when exploring the island in 1795, some young people, believed to be 13 or 14 years old, discovered a depression in the ground. They dug because they believed it to be a man-made pit, and as they dug, they discovered layers of wood and other objects. They tried to continue their exploration, but were thwarted by a deluge of unknown origin that flooded the pit. Following the rapid dissemination of the news of the discoveries, a flurry of international treasure hunters descended upon Oak Island in search of the hidden wealth. The first planned excavation of the money pit took place in 1803, under the leadership of a group of investors known as the Onslow Company. They were given their own money pit. The excavations had to be terminated because the parties' attempts to descend to the pit's floor were unsuccessful. The following century saw a variety of groups try to solve the island's riddles, but due to the enormous difficulties they encountered, none of them were successful. The hole was flooded, which was the most significant of these, and made additional excavation unsafe and difficult. The importance of this aspect was the greatest of all. Additionally, the pit was wired with a number of devices that, when activated, would cause the pit to fill with water and keep anybody from discovering the treasure. Despite these barriers, the excavations persisted, and the Oak Island Treasure Company was founded in 1861. The flooding that was taking place in the pit prevented this specific squad's attempts from progressing past a depth of 90 feet. As a result of the bankruptcy of the Oak Island Treasure Company in 1909, the excavations were abruptly ended at that time. Do you currently subscribe? do this right away to make more fascinating discoveries. Since then, a number of additional teams have tried to locate the riches that is hidden on Oak Island. But the enigma of the digging, since they believed it to be a fake hole, and as they dug, they found multiple layers of wood and other things. Yet, a mysterious flood stopped them in their tracks, filling the hole with water and blocking any further excavation. As soon as word of the discovery spread, treasure seekers from all over the world flocked to Oak Island to look for the loot. The Onslow Company, a group of financiers, organized the first orderly excavation of the Money Pit in the year 1803. This specific team was able to dig down to a depth of 90 feet before the flooding, which happened in the pit once more, hampered their attempts. Meanwhile, the excavations were permanently halted in 1909 as the Oak Island Treasure Company went out of business. Since then, several other parties have tried to find the treasure buried on Oak Island, but the riddle of the Money Pit has remained unsolved to this day. The new season is here. Lagena brother will be back to start a new excavation session in November.
10 years ago, we never would have anticipated going underground in the Money Pit.
What we're seeing is high-density anomaly below the surface of the Money Pit.
Yep. Will this be the most exciting historical season yet? The stage is set because the last 3 biggest finds from Season 10 have already taken the world by storm.
We need to get to the bottom of the garden shaft. Could be the offset chamber that we seek.
For people across the globe, the belief that they will finally solve a 228-year-old treasure mystery has never been higher. To start off, I am going to begin with analyzing the Lot 5 barter token. A couple of months after Gary found the Roman coin with Rick, he and Jack Begley fared well once again with a curious, non-ferrous target. But what did they find this time? A lead barter token. It was most likely used as a form of currency several centuries ago, but it wasn't made of silver or gold. But let me emphasize one thing here again. Lead artifacts found on Oak Island have sometimes proven to be the greatest clues in helping to solve the mystery. Meanwhile, when archaeometallurgist Emma Colligan analyzed the token, her initial take on its possible origin was more than compelling. But when chemist Dr. Chris McFarland conducted isotope testing on the lead, his laser-focused findings made for an unbelievable moment. According to my judgment and analysis, the object was relatively easy to identify because it was flat, a favorable characteristic for analysis. Yet, it wouldn't have been a piece of cake because it had a very thick, altered crust on it, indicating that it had been submerged for quite some time. Without a doubt, it has endured significant environmental changes over the years. Now, hear this out.
The biggest result is that isotopically, it looks very similar to the cross.
No way. I wasn't expecting that.
The Lot 5 token was an exact compositional match to the 14th century lead cross, signifying that both originated from southern France, a region where the Knights Templar maintained a stronghold until the early 1300s. The lead in the disc apparently matches virtually identically with the lead in the lead cross, which is a head-scratcher. Another very significant thing that could tie the Templars to this location is the discovery of the W's, and then all those other W's pieces are going to fall right into place. The second major discovery of this season is the real banger, because in the last dig of the year, they stumbled upon yet another puzzling discovery. This discovery marks the importance of direction, a possible map, to lead them to gold. It suggests that the gold is hidden somewhere deep within the Money Pit. The main focus remained on the Money Pit area, and they continued to excavate the B4C shaft. The B4C shaft is very close to reaching its full depth of around 90 feet. It is located barely 5 feet to the north of the borehole C. In the C1 cluster, including what might be evidence of wooden tunnels that date back to the 15th century. In addition, significant traces of silver and gold were found, which has led to conjecture on the site of the original Money Pit, as well as the likelihood of a tunnel that leads to a treasure room. The fact that they found gold deposits in the water is another motivator. But how they found these deposits is a tale in itself. They gathered samples in plastic bottles. The entire process aimed to ascertain whether gold was in the water and, if so, where it might be. Even so, what is the scientific basis for this fascinating jelly material? The blob is a complicated material, and it still needs to be clarified precisely what makes it up. The experts think it combines gold, iron, and sulfur. It is believed that the gold came from an organic gold deposit on Oak Island, and the soil in the vicinity provided the chemicals. In its aftermath, I think that the fusion of these materials created the pink blob. Meanwhile, Marty Lagena made light of the possibility that the island's secret would be kept in a little plastic bottle, despite 200 years of extensive expenditure and effort. In the war room, the men were gathered, and Marty demanded to know about the gold. Fortunately, he didn't let them down. And surprisingly, there is more good news. Dr. Dred Michel, a hydrogeologist, said that the concealed gold was located only a short distance from the sea. According to my calculations, it is between 80 and 110 feet deep. This is also consistent with earlier researchers who discovered an engraved stone at a height of 90 feet, or around the same level. It was thought the marking indicated the location of a hidden treasure. Meanwhile, Rick and Marty carried on with their first descent into the garden shaft. Faithful acorns know that the genesis of what would become the Curse of Oak Island began when Rick Lagena was just 11 years old, growing up in northern Michigan. There, he read a 5-page story in the Reader's Digest entitled Oak Island's Mysterious Money Pit. That one brief write-up of the fabled treasure pit and the questions about what it might contain would captivate both him and his younger brother Marty for nearly 50 years until they could take over the hunt themselves. And after more than a decade into their quest, once the garden shaft reconstruction was nearing completion during Season 10, Rick, accompanied by Scott Barlow and Roger Fora, got to make his first descent underground in the money pit area. Since evidence of gold was detected in the garden shaft during its reconstruction, once it was completed to a depth of 82 feet, Marty got his first chance to experience what he had only read about as a child. The Onslow employees next excavated through a level platform or an unidentified vault structure, but they had to stop when the shaft flooded. Significantly, it has been hypothesized by the Oak Island crew that the laborers may have discovered the treasure vault. The team believes that the gold may have been brought to the money pit throughout the course of the dig, and will continue to pursue the progress aspiration to one day stumble upon Marie Antoinette's jewels, or the Ark of the Covenant. But all they ended up finding so far was an intricate network of wooden tunnels. These tunnels date back to the 15th century, but how did people at that time know how to build tunnels? As the run continues, the group discovers a few loose pieces of wood, but the most important find is a large iron fastener. Because of the primitive style of craftsmanship, it is thought to date back to the 1800s, if not earlier. They believe that this discovery gives them a sense that the money pit is somewhere near. One of the artifacts uncovered is a hand-forged spike, which rapidly becomes the center of attention. Because they understand the importance of each lead, the group will launch an inquiry into the surge. It has a rough appearance, yet it contains hand-forged raw iron and indications of aging, making it a valuable artifact with the potential to give insights into Oak Island's history. I find the importance of linking dots to be something fundamental in this whole pursuit. In my pursuit, I ran into an expert statement. Carmen Legg, a person whose life speaks of his love for finding the unknown, concludes that the iron spike that was discovered in the B4C shaft belonged to a rock drill that was used during the medieval era. Last but not least, the garden shaft's greatest hits. Just before winter forced the team to halt their search operations, representatives from Dumi believed they may have encountered a tunnel some 10 feet below the bottom of the garden shaft. Rick and Marty then made their way to the bottom of the shaft together in order to investigate. It's like a childhood fantasy coming true, isn't it? At this stage, Rick and Marty, after 60 years, made their way into the money pit. After all the trace evidence of gold that was detected in water and wood samples during the reconstruction of the garden shaft, it was time for the metal-detecting ninja to see what he could find at the bottom, and it made for one Bobby Dazzler of a moment. He then connected it to a couple of swags the crew had discovered 2 years earlier, suggesting that one of the functions of the swags was to sharpen rock drills. He drew this connection by noting the presence of swags in the same location. The rock drill, a tool employed for drilling rocks or breaking up massive boulders, is believed to have a long history. It resembles those used during the medieval period. Its existence introduces a realm of intriguing possibilities concerning the history of the money pit and the hidden wealth within. The group deliberates whether this artifact provides further evidence of their proximity to the legendary riches. The rock drill holds historical significance as it could have been utilized in the initial construction of the money pit. And what season finale would be complete without a weeping Lagena giving a moving and motivational speech? Will this actually lead to a treasure in the end? Who knows? Further expeditions by the Lagina boys will uncover the story. And to always stay safe, you need to be informed. So subscribe to the channel where I try all my might to bring you the latest and greatest from the archaeological world. In the end, it will be interesting to see if they can eventually decipher Oak Island's riddle. Final lead for the team.